Okay, here we are with Bon Jovi discussions. Today I have Betsie Gold, Beth Thornton, the bitch pop. Call it what you want. Um, Beth, or Betsy, I'll let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit, how you became a fan, a Bon Jovi fan, and all that.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I'm Betsie Gold. I used to be Beth Thornton and had to change the name because there is an artist that's already super well established called Beth Orton, and it was getting very confusing. So my family all call me Betsie, and my mum's maiden name was Gold. So I was like, let's just get the two together and get rid of any confusion. And I became like the biggest Bon Jovi fan probably in the UK when I was really young, and someone showed me Have a Nice Day. And I like obviously knew Living on a Prayer and stuff like that before, and I thought it was great, but I didn't really know anything about Bon Jovi, and because I was so young I hadn't really listened to the songwriting and stuff. And when I heard Have a Nice Day I was like, oh my god, like this is what good lyrics are, like these are amazing. And I remember saying to my mum, like, I want to do what they do when I'm older, and I didn't even know what it meant. I just knew that I wanted to be doing music and writing stuff, and I said to her, like, I want to open for them one day. And she was like, okay, dear. Yeah, that's how it all began, with Have a Nice Day.
And so is that like your favorite album from them, or?
That and Lost Highway, because that's when those two are like, they were like my prime super getting into Bon Jovi years. And Lost Highway is just one of the best albums of all time from any band, I'd say, anyway. But yeah, Have a Nice Day has a special place in my heart because that's when I like discovered them and discovered my love for songwriting and for music. So
yeah, and the songwriting on Lost Highway I think is one of the most honest songwriting John has ever written, besides his solo album Destination Anywhere. But like with the band, I think that's his most open and best lyrically songs he's ever written, in my opinion. So.
Oh, I completely agree. So good. I love the polls that you do on Twitter. I always vote for those. Oh. When it got to Lost Highway, I was like, this is so hard.
I know. And like, You Want to Make a Memory just like wiped the whole album, which is honestly hit-wise is probably one of the best songs. But
yeah,
I was kind of like rooting for Summertime and The Last Night.
I love Summertime. I've never heard them play it live, I don't think.
They've only ever done it on the Lost Highway tour live.
Yeah, it's a banger, that one.
It's like I don't ever listen to it like in the wintertime, but like as soon as it starts getting warm outside here in the US, like I just roll my window down in the car and just blare that song.
So it's so good. That entire album, like it just takes me back to like being a teenager and being really emotional and listening to all the lyrics like, oh my god, this is like my life.
And like the duet that he does with Leanne Rimes on that album, Till We Ain't Strangers.
Oh my god, you have no idea how much I wish that was me when I was younger, and I was like, damn.
Yeah. But what's your absolute favorite track on that album? Absolutely.
It might be Till We Ain't Strangers Anymore, because I love the harmonies on that song. That was like one of the first songs I really properly learned on guitar that was like easier than just playing G, C and D. And I remember I learned it with this kid at my school because he was the only other person in my class that could sing. And I was like, you have to learn this song with me because I need someone to like sing the other part. So I think that's probably my favorite one from that album because it has just really nice memories for me from learning it at school with my friend, and the harmonies are just
it's and you've also heard some of the outtakes from that album too, right? Like Lonely, Walk Like a Man, Put the Boy Back in Cowboy, and stuff like that. Those are good stuff.
Put the Boy Back in Cowboy is one of my favorite Bon Jovi songs of all time. I can't believe they didn't release that on the album. It's so good.
It is good, but like I don't think it really, because like when they were like, I remember when they first announced this album coming out, and like John was saying how it was going to be a country influenced album, like all the Bon Jovi fans were like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, we don't want a country Bon Jovi album.
Yeah.
But once you actually listen to it, it's not really full on country. It's like rock with like a little bit of violin and a little bit of
it just has like the influence of, and I guess it's when people think of country and stuff, they think of just the instrumentation, but a lot of country is like the storytelling lyrics, which I think is what makes that album country. Is like it's so honest and there's so many good stories in it that to me that's what the country influences on that album. Obviously, like the violin and stuff, but the lyrics on that album just remind me of, that's what reminds me of country music with proper storytelling.
Yeah. And but so like put the boy back in cowboy. I think it was too. I think it's a great song. I agree with you, but I can see why it wasn't put on the album. It's too country, you know, especially with the boy back in cowboy kind of thing.
I remember. Oh, this is so embarrassing. I remember that when that album came out is when I bought a Stetson hat because I was like, oh, country.
Well, a little bit ago, you were talking about how when you got into them, you were, you know, wanting to open up for them one day. And I'm sure people already know, but for those that don't know, you've got to tell about how your Toronto experience happened.
It was the most crazy thing ever. So they did this. I can't believe that a band this big did the competition that they did, because you normally get like competitions and stuff for smaller bands to open for them. But for a band like Bon Jovi, to do a competition where even if no one's ever heard of you, you can go and open for them, was like the most ridiculous thing ever. And I tried to open for them before. I did like a battle of the bands a few years ago, and this other incredible band won, which was completely fair enough because they were so much better than everyone else. But I somehow got through, and like I'll never forget when we found out, and I invited my band to lunch, and I was like, do you guys want to go to Canada? And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, do you want to open for Bon Jovi? And my drummer went, fuck yeah. And I think we didn't have like that much notice to get everything ready.
Oh, really?
I can't remember how long unless it just feels like that, because it was such a big deal. But we've got so many practices in such a short space of time, because I'm really like, I like things to be perfect. And obviously this was like the biggest gig of my life. And I just remember like that morning, just everyone was like, you need to eat something. I was like, I can't. I was so excited and nervous. I think all I had all day was some watermelon. But yeah, it was, that was just like, it doesn't feel like it happened when I look back on it, because the whole day was so crazy. Like, I've never been backstage in an arena before, and like just seeing all that stuff was amazing enough, let alone like, oh, we're allowed to be here, and like we're supposed to be here, and we got our own dressing room and stuff. Yeah,
it's
it
like,
was yeah, sorry.
It's like, have you ever seen Wayne's World, that movie?
Well, I actually haven't. I really need to watch it.
Oh, there's a scene in there where they get to go, like, they're huge like rock and roll fans, and they get passes to go meet Alice Cooper, so they go backstage to the back of the arena, and they're like flashing their backstage pass to everybody. And so when you said that, it kind of reminded me of that movie.
It's true. I remember just like because we were given a dressing room, and it was like, I'd never had a real dressing room. Like when we do gigs here, it's like the dressing rooms in the UK, they suck. They're horrible little tiny rooms, and they always stink. And this room was so big, and they like had this basket with like Oreos and stuff in it, and I was like, this is the real deal. And I brought my friend with me who was doing photos and stuff, and I remember doing this. Oh, it was so embarrassing. I hope no one ever sees the footage. We were like doing this dressing room tour and stuff. We were like, it was like a MTV Cribs, but for my dressing room.
That's funny. So obviously you got to meet John before the show. What was that? And if you want, you can show your picture.
Sure. I was really nervous because being a huge Bon Jovi fan, and like John is the main reason I got into music because of his lyrics and how he performs and sings and stuff, and he's what inspired me to really like push for it. So, you know, they always say like, oh, don't meet your heroes, and I had that in my head, and I was like, oh, what if he's not what I like want him to be or something? And I remember him coming out to being like, hey guys, how you doing? And I was like, oh, he's just a completely normal person.
Yeah.
And like, he built this thing up in your head, and then we just had this really normal conversation. We were talking about sound check and stuff, and he was talking about guitars and stuff with my guitarist, and it was like, oh my god, this is just really normal. And then like I just had no nerves anymore, and it was just super chill, and we just spoke for a few minutes, and then got this picture where it is me, I promise. I just look nothing like this now. But
that was Beth Thornton.
Yeah.
Now you're Betsie
Who
Gold.
is that girl? Who is she?
Did he give you like any kind of like advice as a musician?
I really wish I'd asked, because it was such a casual conversation, and I because I was like because I was nervous. I didn't want to say too much. I didn't want to bug him, and I just kind of let the conversation flow. But he was just super chill, and was like he was like, "You guys go and enjoy it," and we're like, "Okay, we will," and we just didn't want to mess up and like let them down because they'd given us this awesome opportunity. But I remember because they have like the underneath the stage, and he has the steps going up, which is how he does his amazing entrance. And I went up to the top of the steps, and because they had all the lights off, you can't see anything. And there was this big cable, and I tripped over it as soon as I got on stage.
Way to start the show.
Yeah, like, cool. Of course that happened.
So, did you get to meet the other band members before going on stage or after?
Yeah, so Phil sat through our sound check, which was so intimidating. I saw him in the front row, and I was like, "That's Phil X." And I turned to my guitarist, and he was like, "I can't look at him. I can't look at him while we're doing this sound check." And that was so cool. And then we saw, as we were coming off stage, we saw Tico, and we're like, "Hey, Tico!" And we like spoke to him as he was going on for his sound check. The only person I didn't see was David, which I was gutted about. But I did meet him in London a few years ago when this was so random. So this was outside Harrods, and I was walking past with my friend because there was a Bon Jovi gig on in London, and he came out, and my friend had a pen in her bag, and I was like, "I don't have anything for you to sign, but can you sign my arm?" And he signed my arm. He was like, "Don't get it tattooed."
David said that.
Yeah. But yeah, that was cool.
That's funny. So you got to, what was Tico like? Because he's the one band member I've never gotten to meet yet. So what was it like meeting him?
He was super chilled out. He was just like, because obviously for us it was like this huge novelty thing, and to him it's like, "Oh, I'm just going to sound check. Like, I've got to go do this." And we're like, "Hey, how are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good. How are you guys?" And I was like, "This guy is so cool." Like, that's the one word that I would describe Tico as cool, because he's just like, he just gives off this vibe of like,
Chill, just laid back.
he was a really cool dude.
So back to the actual show for Toronto. What was it like to be able to play in front of all those people, and because what was it like?
I can't describe it. I remember before we went on stage, I wish I could remember this guy's name. He was awesome. He was one of the people sorting out all the sound. And he came up to us and he was high-fiving us. He went, "Don't pass out." And that thought hadn't crossed my mind until he said it. And I was like, what if I pass out when I get on stage? And the cool thing, and well, the good thing was, so I didn't pass out, was because the lights are so bright, I couldn't see all the way back when they first put them on. So I was kind of relieved, like, because I'd never been in such a huge place. And then when they brought the lights up, I was like, "Oh my God." I remember saying to my guitarist, like, as they were like doing the sound check, I was like, "There's not going to be many people here because like everyone's here to see Bon Jovi and stuff. No one comes to see the opening act." And I was like, "It's probably only going to be half full." And he was like, "That's 10,000 people." And I was like, "Oh yeah." But then at the end, when they turned all the lights on and it was completely full, I was like, this is who we just performed to." And I swear it was the quickest we've ever played any songs, because we had so much adrenaline. My drummer was like,
Well, I watched your set though from that show, and I thought it was great.
"Oh, good." I was terrified.
And that's the thing though too, is that what I love so much about Bon Jovi is that on these tours they're giving artists a chance to be able to go from clubs and small venues to arenas and stadiums, and being able to get the practice of being in front of a huge audience like that. So it's great that you got that opportunity, because that's how I found your music. It was because of Bon Jovi.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like, I don't know of any other bands, especially at that size, that are doing that for people. Like, opening up for a band is like, they're the biggest rock band, like, especially to me, in the world. Like, opening up for Bon Jovi in an arena with 20,000 people, like, it just doesn't happen. And for it to happen at this stage in their career, like, they don't need to be doing that stuff. They don't need to be helping people out. Then, like, do you know what I mean? And they still are, and that's why I think they're so great.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because like look at the way John started. You know, you probably know. You know, he had trouble getting started. You know, he threw, you know, not threw, but you know, he gave us a single of Runaway to the DJ, and that's how you know, he was playing small venues and stuff. And you know, in '84 and '85, they were, you know, opening up for, you know, big bands like Kiss and AC/DC and Europe and all those bands. So Scorpions. So you know, it's great that he gives artists now that chance. You know,
it's amazing. And what I love about the story with Runaway and the radio stations is, like, didn't he before, like, none of the labels listen? They were like, no. Yeah. And then I love that. It's so typical of the music industry.
Yeah.
Like, no. And then they're like, oh, hang on, everyone in New York loves it. We all want to sign you now.
Yeah, it's like, you know, out of 100, you get rejected 99 times, but then you know, you finally get it. But it's just amazing how the music industry is. Like, you've probably heard the album Burning Bridges of you know, back in 15. And, you know, if you listen to, like, Burning Bridges, it's like a big FU to the music industry.
It is a crazy industry. And, like, the thing that's really helpful to me to remember, and I'd imagine also with John, like, if Bon Jovi weren't writing, they've got nothing. Like, Bon Jovi, they need Bon Jovi. They need artists. Like, the music industry try and make you believe that you need them, but without the artists and the songs, like, nothing exists. So.
Exactly. And you know, it's such a shame that, like, look at I don't know if you know, I'm sure you know her, but like the whole story, like, with Taylor Swift in the music industry, about like how, like, she had like 5 albums and like the record company owned those songs and she had like no rights on the songs that she created, which is her art. And there's so many other artists just like that who have no rights to their art, to their music, songs that they've written and recorded and worked so hard on. And these music companies just come right in and say, no, we own these rights, we could do whatever we want. It's not fair.
Crazy. Like, I know, like, lots of people are like, oh, I want a record deal, and like, oh, when you get a record deal, that's it, and like, oh, you're going to be rich if you get a record deal. It's like, do you know how long you need to be like on a label to make money back, because they keep all the money.
Yeah, exactly. Like look at Bon Jovi with their debut album in 7800. Like, they barely made it dimes from that. And then like once Slippery came out, I mean, that just blew, you know, it was a huge blowout and successful. But it's just, I get so mad at these record companies these days because, you know, they you know more than I do about it, obviously, but like just the way that they take rights and money, and you know, it's a shame.
Because they have the power to do it, which is the thing that sucks. And I think Taylor Swift's new record deal is incredible. Like, it's the first of its kind where she owns all of the rights to her songs. And I think I do understand that there's a risk with record labels, and they're obviously taking a risk on you, and like, they're investing in you. But I do think it's very outdated that, like, oh, keep everything and you owe us all the money that we've. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, like, I'm not saying these record companies don't deserve to have a partial right to the songs. You know, they do, because they're funding, you know, they're, like you said, taking a risk. But to 100% take rights away from artists, it's just, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's crazy. I really hope that, like, because of people like Taylor Swift with her deal, that there's going to be a change and stuff, because lots of people, they're getting screwed, and they have been for years, and they probably will for quite a few more, but hopefully it's changing.
Yeah, you know, it's like I was just mentioning about the Burning Bridges album. You know, when they had one more album to fulfill their contract with Island Records and blah blah blah, and you know, John didn't agree with the whole contract terms, and I think the record company wanted more rights and more money from John, you know, blah blah blah, and so John was like, you know what, you want because they were still recording This House Is Not For Sale, and he's like, you know what, if you know, F this company, here's a 10 track album. You know what the cover looks like, you know.
It's so good. Like, what an awesome move to make. Like,
and the album was just like full of outtakes, and then he just written one song for it called Burning Bridges, and it was like an FU to them, you know.
Good.
Yeah, you know, but thankfully they, you know, made terms, and they got, another contract with them. But
Yeah.
next thing, let's talk about the cruise, because that's where I got to meet you and I got to see some of your shows. So let's talk about how you got set to be able to play on the cruise.
I guess that I didn't suck too bad opening in Toronto because I got invited to do the cruise. So at least I didn't mess up too bad. Yeah, that was so exciting because I've never been to Miami and obviously I'd never been to the Bahamas. Like, that was crazy. And to be like, oh yeah, you get to come and open for your favorite artist and you get paid for it. And I was like, what? Yes. And they were like, oh yeah, food's 24/7. I was like, yes, count me in. Food 24/7. But it was probably the most fun experience I've ever had was doing those cruises, because I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been on any type of cruise before, let alone a music one. And it was so cool to be in a place where everyone's there for the same thing. So everyone same mindset, to want to have a good time, listen to some good music and stuff. And the vibe the entire time was so fun and positive. And I was gutted when it was over. It flew by so fast.
Yeah. I think my friends and I went and saw 4 or 5 of your shows, and they're all obviously good. But what was it like to be because you were playing in the middle of the night too?
Yeah.
So what was it like to play all these different times, 2-3 shows in one day?
That was really weird, and the difficult thing was obviously we'd only flown in the day before the cruise, so we were quite jet lagged. But there was so much excitement that it kind of just dissipated. Yeah. But all different times, usually you're obviously just playing at night, that's typically when a gig is. But they're yeah, so you're playing at 11 in the morning, you're playing at 2 in the afternoon, and then you're playing at 10, and it was okay. But it was really cool. We had no routine for those 5 days. It was impossible to have any routine. It was 2 in the morning, we're should we go get some fries? Okay.
Yeah, I love that about the cruise, that there was always food, and I got on a huge vanilla cone kick on the cruise. I think I had literally 100 ice cream cones through those 4, because it was so hot too.
It was so hot. Oh my god.
So it was easy just to go grab an ice cream cone and walk around the ship.
That's awesome. Yeah, I ate so many chips on that trip, because you could take all the fries out of the restaurant as well. So I would get 2 things of fries and then be I'm going to go out on the deck and watch the band now, and just eat my fries. It was not the healthiest week of my life.
No, it was because usually for my diet, I cheat on my diet for 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And, on the cruise, it was 4 or 5 days in a row. And,
yeah, we were having 5 meals a day.
Yeah. I'd have so many cheeseburgers and pizza, and I after the cruise, I just felt like a pile of garbage.
Yeah, when I got home, I was I just need a salad with no dressing.
Yeah, but it was great. So speaking from a fan's perspective, what did you think of the whole Bon Jovi cruise?
I thought it was awesome. I liked being around so many people that were also fans, because I have a few friends that are Bon Jovi fans, but I've never met anyone that was a huge fan like I was. And it was really cool to be in this group of people, instead of feeling this outsider who's loves this band but no one knows what it's like, because not even any of my friends weren't even like that with other bands. So no one understood why I loved them so much, if that makes sense. So to be around people that just got it, and because I don't know if it's because you guys knew I was a Bon Jovi fan, or if it's just that you guys are so nice and love music. The people that were at my shows, I just connected with them more than I have with people at other gigs. And I just think it's because we're all really like-minded, and we're all there for one reason. And it was really cool. And I remember the first gig being emotional when I came off stage, because everyone was so nice, because I knew that everyone was there to see John. So if anyone came to see me, it was just a bonus. And when people did, and you guys were so nice, I was oh, it was so cool.
Well, see, I didn't, until I actually met you and we actually got to talk and stuff. I didn't realize how big of a Bon Jovi fan you were until the cruise.
Yeah, huge Bon Jovi fan. I think some people just thought that I was saying that when I opened for them in Toronto and stuff. But until you speak to me about it, and I am a huge fan. Like, I know so much about them. I know all their songs, and I was like just as excited as anyone else to be on that cruise, like because of getting to see John play, and yeah, it was really awesome. Like we felt like fans that just happened to be playing at the same time.
And you know, back to where you meet other passionate fans. That's what's so cool about these runaway tour events and the cruises, was that you're meeting other diehard passionate fans that like know the deep tracks, that know, you know, every band member knows when this album came out and stuff like that. You know, it's cool to go to Bon Jovi shows and make friends there too. But like a lot of times you meet fans that only know Living on a Prayer and Bad Name and Bad Medicine, you know. So it's kind of cool to be on a ship full of diehard fans.
Yeah. And like singing along to the words with sort of songs that like people that aren't diehard fans, like they wouldn't know. And then like everyone's singing along, you look around, and because everyone's singing along, like I get excited and then someone else is getting excited next to me, and then we're like singing at each other like, ah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like during the acoustic show, you know, like John did Joey, which you know is from the Bounce album, and you know, like I Would Drive You Home or Color Me In. Like you never get to see those songs at a regular Bon Jovi show. So it was so cool to be able to see some of those songs.
I was so happy when he played I Will Drive You Home, because I think that's one of the most underrated songs, and I think it should have been a single, but it's such a good song. And the production on it was so current as well, with like the vocoder and all the harmonies and stuff, and like that's got to be one of my top 10 songs.
Yeah, I think it was part of it, like a deluxe Target edition album, but like I think it should have been on the album, and like you said, a single.
Yeah.
It is one of the, I think it's probably, besides This House Is Not For Sale, it is, and Roller Coaster, it is probably the best song on this House album.
Oh, for sure. Like the lyrics are incredible. I remember when because when I listen to music, I always listen to the lyrics first. Apparently that's weird. I don't know, but I always pick out the lyrics, and like I just remember being like, oh my God, I wish I could write something like this. Like, this every line in that song is so amazing. It's really good.
It really is. You know, and like I feel like the ending wasn't completely finished, because if you listen to the ending, like it's like auto-tuned background voices, you know, like I don't know if that was like Brian and Shanks, you know.
I think they used a vocoder, so like I think it sounds to me like it was David, and like they used a vocoder. Like, do you know what a vocoder is? So like if you record, they would record him singing the melody, and then they'd get a keyboard and they would like do a chord on the keyboard, and it turns his voice into a chord.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like
I think that's what they did.
Yeah, I love that stuff. It's so cool. So you can turn like vocals into chords. So do you know the Imogen Heap song, which is like all of her voice, like it's all harmonies and stuff?
Whose?
It's called Imogen Heap. Let me find the name, because that's all vocoder. You have to check it out. Sorry, I'm
That's okay. I've always wondered that, and I guess you'd be the person to
Hide and Seek. It's Hide and Seek. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I love in that song, because it's such a current production move, and like I just think on a rock album, what a cool thing to like just put this super pop thing in there. Like I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. You know, and I also liked Color Me In.
Yes.
And Good Night New York is also a really good one.
Yeah.
I think it just, those songs, like Good Night New York belongs on the standard edition too. Yeah, it's so good. And then
every time I plug my phone into my car, I don't know why, but Good Night New York is always the one that comes out. It doesn't matter. Like every time I plug my phone in, it just suddenly comes on. And I'm like, yeah.
And then Touch of Grey. The lyrics in Touch of Grey is so good, and like you just wondered how those 4 songs did not get put on the original version, the edition of the album. You know, like I would have taken out All Hail the King. Like there's like 5 Bon Jovi songs that I do not like.
Yeah.
There's like only 5. And All Hail the King is one of them. I just
tell by your face.
What's that?
I can tell by your face. You're like,
yeah, I just tear. I don't know. I like the lyrics are good. It's just the music to it. It's not. And that one and Come On Up to Our House. Like every time I listen to Come On Up to Our House, I think I'm in kindergarten. You know.
It is very like
Yeah, like I feel like I'm watching Barney. I don't know.
I love that.
But yeah, so there's only like 5 Bon Jovi songs I don't like, and those are 2 of them. You know, but so. And let's talk about Wembley, because you got to do Wembley, which I am incredibly jealous of.
Yeah, that was a bucket list thing for me, seeing my favourite band of all time at like the greatest venue in the UK. It was awesome.
What was it? Where did you, like, how far were you from the stage?
I was pretty far away.
Still.
But because it was sold out, the view was insane, because there wasn't one seat empty. It was crazy, and like it started off, it was quite light, and then when it gets dark and stuff, and everyone's holding their phones up, and it was a really emotional gig to be at, because it was sold out, and I like, as a huge fan, I'm like, they're still doing it. They're still selling out stadiums. Like, this is insane. And they played. Why can't I remember the name? It's one of my favourite songs. Is it Amen?
Amen, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, they played that. And those people around me were talking. I was like, shh.
That's what's so annoying. Like, sometimes when I'm at shows, like, I'm recording the song. Like, even like I was watching some of my cruise videos.
Yeah.
And like, you have people beside you going, "I love you, John. I love you," like a million times. Like, just like, shut up. Listen.
Yes. Oh my God. But yeah, that was, because that's one of my favourite songs. Like, I just think vocally he sounds incredible on there. When they started playing it, because I was like, we were kind of up, we were really far away and then up like at the top. So I like ran down. So I was at the barriers. So I was like, I need to focus, because this is one of my favourite songs. I've never seen them play it before. And yeah, these women behind me were chattering. I was like, can you it's a quiet song.
Exactly. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm so jealous you got to see them in Wembley. I wanted to go to that show so bad, because like, one of my favorite, you've probably seen the DVD, the Live from London.
Yeah.
These Days Tour 95.
Yeah.
My favorite performance ever from them is Always.
Yeah.
That's like the best performance I've ever seen them do. And they did Always at your show, right? I believe they did.
Yeah, because I remember when the audio was uploaded and people were like, because people are, John's not exactly the same as when he was 20, and it's like, and I was like, he sounded fucking great, like this audio sounds insane, and they're like, well, this isn't the real audio then, because it sounded so good. And I was like, what? So this random person who uploaded this thought, I know, I'm gonna auto tune just John's voice.
Yeah, it's there's some fans out there that you just cannot please.
No.
And it astounds me how they're still fans of them when they can't stand what they're putting out. Why
are you paying £90 a ticket just to be like, this isn't like it was when he was 30? Well, no. Good. Like, that would be boring.
And like, I always see people tweeting at me or just talking in general about how they wish that John still sounded like he did on the Slippery album, or or the whole Richie shenanigans. Like, come on, like, it's time to move on. It's 2020. It's not 1986.
Yeah, no point talking about it. Also, not being funny, you tour that much, your voice, it's impossible for your voice to ever stay. Like, you tour for 2 weeks and gig every day, your voice is going to be a bit like...
Yeah.
It's still great. No one's ever left. No one that I have ever seen leaving a Bon Jovi show looks disappointed. Like, everyone always looks like they're having a good time. It's like, so just have a good time and shut up.
Exactly. And like you said, he still sounds so good.
Yeah.
Especially for his, being in his late 50s, he still sounds incredible.
Yeah.
There's, like you said, when you're doing 2 weeks in a row of shows and stuff, your voice is going to get tired.
Yeah, and they're playing. He's doing 2 hours minimum a night, which is crazy. There's hardly anyone doing that.
Like how big are your vocal cords? I think they're like the size of your thumb, aren't they?
Yeah.
Of your thumbnail.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they're so, like, people don't understand how delicate they are. Like, I could have a glass of orange juice and the next day I won't be able to sing as high because I've had something acidic. Literally how sensitive vocal cords can be. So people need to just calm down.
Calm down's the word for it. But it astounds me how some fans, can be. It's just, They go, and these are the same people that still go to the shows and stuff, and then all they do is complain about it afterwards.
I don't get, like, you're spending, like, the tickets aren't cheap. Why are you going to just be like, don't like it? Well, why did you go?
Exactly. You know, it's like I posted something the other day about Phil X's sound check. Did you see that? It was like with the sound check.
Yeah.
Back in 2013. And like there was like a thing underneath that goes, that would have been a better show with Richie. Well, it clearly was not a show with Richie.
Yeah.
The show with Phil.
I don't understand that stuff. Like,
I don't either.
Phil is an insane guitarist. He's also like a ridiculously nice guy and a ridiculously like talented singer and performer. And it's like, do you know what? Richie's not in Bon Jovi anymore.
Exactly.
So,
you know, and I've come to peace. You know, to be honest, I respect Richie and I love, you know, what Richie has done for the band, and you know, I always respect that. But like, we're in a new time now, and Phil is just incredible. Like their songs, like Keep the Faith.
Yeah.
When I've seen Bon Jovi probably about 53 times now.
Yeah.
Since 2000, for the last 20 years, and Keep the Faith was always one of those songs where I really didn't care for seeing live, especially like the guitar solo or the end. Like it was cool, but like I really didn't care for it. But like once I started seeing Phil on that song, like in 2011, 2013, and then the last tour, like it just made me love and appreciate that song even more. Yeah. And there's other songs like Lay Your Hands on Me that made me appreciate that song more because of Phil.
Yeah.
And, you know, he makes it his own rendition, his own creativity on those songs.
Also, he has so much time for talking to people. Like, he's so much effort, and like you can tell that he's still excited to be in Bon Jovi, which is like, you don't see that a lot with like these huge bands. It's kind of like the novelty's worn off, but with Phil, it's like he's like, oh, I'm in Bon Jovi.
Yeah, and you know, I can imagine what that feeling is like. But
yeah,
you know, I can't stand it when fans compare or don't. You know, obviously you can't compare. They're two different guitarists, and they're both great. Yeah. But you know, you got to give Phil a chance because the shows. I've talked to people that refuse to go to a Bon Jovi show because Richie's no longer there.
It's just, I don't really understand it. Like, it's the same songs. They're just like the guitar is. It's like they both have different feeling. Every single guitar player plays. They can play the same solo and it could sound like a different solo.
Exactly.
Like, they have their own style, and I just think for me it hasn't ruined any live Bon Jovi shows at all having Phil there. Like, it's a different experience, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, exactly. So, I love how Phil adds his own creativity, his own rendition of these songs, and he makes it his own.
Yeah.
You know,
and his voice is incredible as well.
Oh yeah, and like you probably listen to his solo stuff too, like
yeah.
Oh, that stuff is so good. But it's
energy in every single thing that he does.
Yeah, you know, like the drills, like I say, is great. I love it, but it's like two different spectrums of Phil, which is really cool. Like so, like you have the Bon Jovi spectrum, and then you know, like he tries to contain himself. But like when you have the drills, he's like, out of control, and it's so cool. I love it.
It's like my drummer. This is like, so he's been my drummer for just under 2 years, I guess. And he's the best drummer I've ever worked with. He's absolutely incredible, and he learned all the pop drumming. Like, I have this thing called an SPD, which has like built-in electronic sounds as well as his big drum kit, which is inspired by Tico's kit. I was like, I want one as big as Tico's. You need to buy extra drums. And but he's in other bands. Like, he's a proper metalhead, like full-on metalhead. Yet he's playing songs like "Craving You" of mine, where it's like so pop. And then, but we always live and stuff, I say, you just need to go for it. And he'll just rip the drums up, and it's so good. But it's just so funny that he can be like, he's my drummer playing pop stuff. And then he's in this band called Mountain Cooler, where they're just like, it's the heaviest music, and it's so cool.
That's funny. That's funny. I was going to add something too. I forget. Well, yeah, I lost. I had a thought I was going to say, and then
Sorry, gone. I interrupted. I apologize.
No. That's okay. So anything else you wanted to add, say?
I mean, I'm going to show the picture of me and my band.
Oh, yeah.
Check that out. I got the date and everything.
April 10th, 2017, the blonde hair.
So I don't even know who that girl is.
Oh, that was Beth Thornton.
My long lost sister.
Yeah. No, the red hair is Betsie Gold.
Yeah, I did go brown for a bit, and I was like, do you know what? I don't feel as Betsie Gold with my brown hair. It's going back to red. I remember when I first saw Matt on the cruise, and I hadn't seen him since I was really blonde. I saw him in LA, and then he was like, "What? Why have you got red hair?" I was like, "Because I'm Betsie Gold now."
Beth Thornton, blonde hair, Betsie Gold,
Yeah,
red hair.
exactly. You gotta have some sort of. I mean, you gotta make it obvious somehow.
Yeah. So if you ever change your hair color to green, you have to come up with a new name.
Yeah, exactly. My hair will change with my new personas.
Yeah. So before I stop the recording, do you want to tell people who are watching about your new single coming out? That's not coming out on the actual date.
Yes, my new single called Friday the 13th, which is actually on the 22nd of April. Very confusing, but Jerry actually said to me, "It's like, oh, you should have released it on a Friday the 13th." And I was like, "There isn't one till November," so I couldn't wait that long. But I wrote this song. We did write it on a Friday the 13th. Me and my co-writer, everything was going wrong that day. And like the last thing that went wrong before I decided on the name of the song was she was like reaching for something and a cactus fell off her shelf and landed on her head. And she had all these like all the spine things like in her head. And she went, "Fucking Friday the 13th." And I was like, "That's what we're calling the song. It's called Friday the 13th. We're writing a song about that." And I'll never get the image of her pulling little cactus needles out of her head.
Oh, it's gotta hurt.
Mind, it's like one of the funniest. She was obviously in pain, but I was like, I was just trying not to laugh. But that's out next Wednesday, 22nd of April, and it's just a nice upbeat thing to hopefully take people's minds off of what's going on for 3 minutes.
And some of my other favorite songs from you would be House of Fire.
Yeah.
Is it Only One or Only You?
Only one. Yeah.
Only One. And my favorite is I Wish You Would. That's my ultimate favorite.
I do. I love playing that one live. I Wish You Would. It's so fun to play live. Yeah. Like that was my favorite one to play on the cruise. And then we added in Tayo Cruz Dynamite in because it has like the same beat. Oh my god, yeah. My band. I was like, "We're doing this." My band was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yes."
My favorite lyric in I Wish You Would is it's in the second verse, I think. Pull the Band-Aid off, I'm ready for pain. I love that lyric. That's like the best line in that song.
That's awesome. I wrote that in LA with these two awesome writers, and it was so funny because I just packed like t-shirts and shorts because it's LA and it's supposed to be really hot. And I got there and it was the coldest week they'd ever had. And I was freezing cold. I couldn't believe it. Like they said, usually we write up on the rooftop, and I was like, what? This is so typical of like an English person going away and bringing the bad weather with them.
Well, so your new single comes out next Wednesday.
Yes.
Friday the 13th. Does not come out on Friday the 13th.
No.
I can't get over that.
It's so annoying, but it's too much of a summer song to keep till November. It will be worth it not making sense, I promise. Because the song's not about just that date. It will make sense. Like, so I wrote it. I'm like an optimistic pessimist, and I always, instead of just enjoying stuff, I'm always assuming it's going to go wrong. Like with the Bon Jovi stuff, I was like, it's going to get cancelled. Like we're not going to be going to Canada. Something's going to happen. I think John was sick like a few days before our date, and I was like, our date.
I went to that show.
Yeah, all of that stuff, and like anything good that happens, like for a day, I'm excited, and then I'm like, something's gonna go wrong though, and that's what that song's about. That to me, every day is Friday the 13th.
I'm excited to hear it. I'll be buying it.
Cool.
Speaking about being optimistic, pessimistic.
Yeah.
You talk about that show. I was actually at that show, the Pittsburgh show, where he was sick and had to end it early.
Yeah.
And we're talking about fans complaining. I remember going to that show, and I didn't realize he was sick. Like they came out, and I thought that I was like 5 rows in front of the stage, and I thought the band was sounding great. He was sounding good, and like all of a sudden, like after the 4th song, he goes, "I have to apologize to you. My voice sounds like, and I'm sick and blah blah blah." I was like, could have fooled me. And like my friends beside were like, I couldn't tell either. And like what was so great about seeing that show was that it was obviously a different kind of show that you don't ever typically see. because you got to see John try his best. I remember like he was pounding the fuck out of his mic stand, like he was like grabbing one like this, and just I probably shouldn't have done it like on the video like that, but so his mic stand, and he was so pissed off and like, but so he obviously had to cancel or stop the show, and he had David Bryan sing prayer, but after that show, everybody was just so complaining about like how they deserve a refund and blah blah blah. I'm like, they still came, still came on the stage. They could have just canceled, and you would have traveled here.
It's I can't even imagine the pressure from the size gig that they do. Like I feel the pressure from like the venues I play are obviously tiny in comparison, and the pressure of even thinking about cancelling a gig is horrendous because that people have traveled there and stuff, and going out sick, even if like you were saying you didn't notice, he would have like, you can feel it so much with your voice, and I know the anger that he would have felt if he's not singing how he wanted to sing, and it's such a frustrating feeling. And when that happened, I was like, I feel so sorry for him, because it must have just been heartbreaking and also terrifying to have to say to that many people like, I can't do it.
People don't understand the logistics too with touring. Like you have to do everything you can. Like John even said at the show, he had so many people. He had the fans relying on him, the band, the crew, and just the logistics of touring.
I didn't comprehend like how big all that was until we got to Toronto, and it's like it is a huge machine that they are running. Like, and they bring their own stage with them everywhere. It's not like they're not just using a stage there. Like they bring all of it, and it's all their design for that specific tour, and they have all the amazing stuff underneath. And they've got caterers and stuff, so that's like hundreds. There's hundreds of people working like with them to make that show happen, and it would be like so overwhelming to be the person that's like, well, I can't even comprehend the pressure of that situation.
Yeah, and that's what I love about doing backstage tours. Every tour I always do the backstage tour, and it's just so cool to see the machine that is built. How it's coordinated, all the working hands, and just seeing how everything happens.
Yeah.
Like even something so simple as doing their laundry, or it's interesting. It's interesting to go, and you've obviously already done it, going up those steps to go on the actual stage and just seeing what their view is like.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
I remember because we were talking to Matt when we were there, like about how insane the whole thing was because it's so big. And I was like, how do you organise this many people? And he said, if you're on time, then you're late. I remember him saying that, like that everyone has, like John is so, like everyone has to be here at this time. And Matt said, if you're on time, then you're late because you're supposed to be there early. Thing that stuck with me. So like everyone was just so organised there, and everyone knew what they were doing, and it was just like it was incredible to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I'll keep you on after, but I'm going to stop the recording, and I just want to thank you for being able to come on and talk about your experiences.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a really nice, positive thing to do amongst all this madness that's going on.
Sure has. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. 1 second.